So yes, thank you for saying yes to doing this podcast. I just feel like it's brave. I mean, it's like simple to say like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do a podcast and I'm gonna just share my business to the world, but I mean, it's hard. It's hard to be so vulnerable in a platform with a whole bunch of strangers watching you. So I'm always like so grateful that people say yes. Like extremely humble by just trusting me to just create this space and for you to just become as vulnerable and raw as you can be. So it's always so humbling.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm really, really excited based off of what I've seen already. And also just the way that you take care of everything that you do. It's very intentional. And so I knew this going into this was going to be very intentional. And I already feel that from you. So I'm very grateful to be on here too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like intentionality is like I feel like it's a must. My sister and I, we just came from a women's retreat, and
Mm,
like I have grown up in the Christian life, and we have gone to many of these things, and sometimes they feel so genetic, but
mm,
this woman retreat, it was so intentional. Like you can definitely tell that this woman put thought in every
mm.
moment, in every space of that place.
Wow.
And I was just so encouraged by that, because I was like, man, intentionality on the real is really everything, and you should put that on everything. um but yeah, I mean, let's jump right in. I know that you we have you on borrowed time. We were just talking about how you're gonna be dressing up as a cool reindeer going to a Halloween party. um so we want to jump in and honor your time. So welcome to a Pinkfo experience. We are a channel that creates a space for women to tell their stories. Oh, I think we lost you.
Oh, no.
We're just gonna wait for you to get back online.
Okay.
Oh, oh yes, I think we really, really lost you, but we're just gonna wait. I'm just gonna entertain you guys with my beautiful voice here into Noelia hops back in. I'm gonna send her a quick message to see what happened.
No. Oh, goodness. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to do it on my phone. Can I do it on my phone? Can I do it on my phone?
Yeah. So
Hmm.
but yeah, we're just here waiting to hear her story and see if she can log back in. If not, okay. So yeah, her internet went out on her laptop. She's saying that she is going to cell phone mode. So we're just gonna wait for her. Thank you guys for your patient. But as we wait, I want to encourage you to go check our conversations. We have a quite few conversations up in YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure that if you listen to the conversations, that you like our videos. It's very important. I have been told, I'm still learning about this word, but I have been told, and I know it's true, that if you like our videos, it just helps the algorithm. It just helps us get more exposure, more views. So go ahead and do that. I mean, be part of the change. We truly believe in this mission. We truly believe in a people experience, and just the benefits that it's going to bring into people's life. I am a true believer, 100%. Drank the juice of when you share your story, when you empower other generations. Things are bound to get better, things are bound to break, because you bring solution to a problem. So here she is. I was just
Hi.
here she is. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm
uh,
so sorry about that.
no, that it's all good. It's all good, girl. We all have had our internet problems, and like the internet is like, it's that one thing that when you need it to function right, it goes out on you and
Exactly.
it just does
Exactly.
its own thing. It's all good. We understand. So tell us about yourself, who you are, your name.
Yes, my name is Noelia Carolina Rivera, and I'm in my second year of law school right now. I am 31 years old, so I started a little bit later, but I'm very passionate about intellectual property rights for our artists and entrepreneurs. And I'm learning so much, and I also think that part of the law school experience has taught me about myself and what I really am passionate about, and digging deep within myself to accomplish goals. So that's a little bit about what's happening right now. I'm also married. I live in the city of Atlanta, and I have two beautiful little baby dogs.
Oh, we just got a dog. We
Oh,
have a golden retriever. She is, I believe, 13 weeks now.
oh,
And she
baby.
is, yes, she's definitely a Rivera. So she is like in the right family because homegirl is stubborn. She knows like different commands, and she looks at me like, girl, I ain't gonna do that. And she does her own thing. But I'm like showing her that there can only be one lady boss in this household, and she's not it because she's not paying no bills. Um
We have a
so
dog just like
having
that
dogs
too.
is definitely you have a what?
Sorry, we have dogs just like that too. My little girl is she's a dachshund, a wiener dog. Um, and so she. Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, I think you went out
Hello.
again. Yes. We hear you, but we don't see you.
Oh
Oh, there
no.
there
Okay.
it is.
Okay. Okay.
There she is.
I was just saying that our dog is just like that too. She's very, very stubborn. She will not go whenever she doesn't want to go. So I understand.
Yes. So my sister and I, we are like, girl, you're gonna learn. You're
Yes.
gonna learn. Hopefully she does. So you are a law student. Tell us about that. How is that studying the law in
Yes.
times like this?
Oh my gosh, yes. I do think it's very interesting. We actually had our whole constitutional law book change because of everything that's been happening in our Supreme Court, different cases coming out, things like that. So it's really knowing about what's happening in the United States, what rights you have under the Constitution. That's one of my classes I'm in. I'm very passionate about it because of the fact that my parents come from Paraguay, which is in South
Mm.
America, and the rights that they get in their home country are completely different from the rights we get as United States citizens, and so it's very cool and also nerdy to find out all of the different rights that we have and why we have those rights, what different problems came up for us to have those rights, and that we still can keep on fighting for them. So that's one of my favorite classes for sure.
No, it sounds like it. It sounds like you're very passionate about it. So I mean, there is so many laws.
Yes.
So how, I mean, I'm guessing that laws get like modified or changed according to um problems arising, right? There is no way to like just go through all those laws. Like a problem has to be created, somebody has to be taken into the Supreme Court or court. Is it just the court, or it has to make it to the Supreme Court for the law to be revised and modified? How does that work?
I'm very glad I have the answer to that. So, whenever you put in your complaint against someone else, according to, like you were saying, a law, a statute was broken, that person would put that document with your local state court. Depending on if it's a constitutional right you're asserting, you would put it in your federal court because that's a right that's given to you by the Constitution. So the federal courts deal with those kinds of questions. And so the higher up it goes, if you're able to appeal it, which most of the time you're able to appeal any verdict, unless you win, you would want to appeal a win. But if you do lose, then you would appeal it to the next court. In Georgia, we have our district court, which is our state court level, and then you take it up to the appeals court. And then after the appeals court, we have the Georgia Supreme Court. And if the Georgia Supreme Court, you still lost on your case, you can appeal it up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court only really hears about 100 cases a year. And so
I didn't
there's
know that.
yeah, there's thousands that are put up to the Supreme Court, but there's only a select few that get there. But once the law, once the Supreme Court does review your document or does review your complaint against the other person or entity, then at that point, that is the end. Unless Congress changes the law, then things would change moving forward. But once the Supreme Court issues their verdict, that is the end of it. So yes, you can take it all the way up
That's
there. You don't have to either.
that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
very
You
interesting.
can win in a lower court. It doesn't
Yes,
always have to make it to the Supreme Court. So I'm not sure if you know the answer to this question, but how, I mean, you say it's thousands of cases.
yeah.
So how do they determine what case is like worth um reviewing, or what is the word for that when it enters the court and it goes through a trial, or maybe that is the word.
So you start out first with your trial court is your district court in your state or in the federal level. That's the only one that's going to have a full blown trial where they'll ask the witnesses and
Mm,
things like that. After that, the appellate court, your appeals court, and the Supreme Court, whether that's state or federal, they're just reviewing what happened at the trial level. So they're reviewing, did everything go right? Did everyone do what they were supposed to do? Was the evidence admissible? Things like that. And then actually evaluating the merits of your case, which is the facts applied to the law. So that's what they're doing, is they're just actually reviewing what the first trial court did. If they did make a mistake, then they would make them most of the time they'll make them go back to trial court in order to hear the court again, or hear the trial again, excuse me. But for the most part, they will make a decision based on what had already happened.
so they don't do a trial in the Supreme Court. It's basically a review and a verdict.
Yes, the only time that they will hear a trial is when states are suing other states. And very few
I see.
cases like that, because the Supreme Court isn't made to hear original cases.
Hmm.
So yeah, they're always going to be generally reviewing what already took place and saying either this side is right, that side right, or we need the trial court to just try again, pretty much just retry it based off of our findings.
That's interesting. I did not know any of that,
Yeah,
but it's
me neither.
very girl. It sounds like you know a lot.
I mean,
I mean, it's
before I didn't know.
I mean, just to retain all that information, like, how do you do it? Like, how do you like remember all this?
It's like eating an elephant, is what it was said. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I think you start from the beginning, and it feels like so much information at first. It feels like
Right.
they're giving more information that you could ever possibly keep in your head. But the more you practice, the more you make it a daily habit of getting up and doing the same things over and over again, which is reviewing your cases in your books, making sure that you understand them conceptually. Where do they fit in the big picture, which is your outline after that, and then at the end doing the studying for your final exam. You're repeating it over and over again, and you're practicing with it. And at that point, because you're working the material so much, that's where it really becomes quote unquote easier. Not really easier, but it definitely becomes more of a habit.
That's awesome. I mean, it sounds to me like the profession of a lawyer is one that you will never stop learning and reviewing the laws. I mean, truth be
Yes.
told, every profession should be like that, but let's be real. Some professions become stagnant and you just know what to do next for like 20 plus years. But like as a lawyer, it seems like you really need to just as you practice law, you still need to be like studious and like knowing following like the changes and stuff like that.
Yes, definitely.
Because definitely I feel like being a lawyer is one of those professions that can easily get that bad rep, and it's exactly because of what you say. Some lawyers, they practice law for so long that people just become either a dollar sign or just one more client to serve. And I think that's where you get those like horrible stories about how a lawyer just took thousands and thousands of dollars from this person, and from the very beginning they knew the verdict of the case, they knew what was going to happen, they knew that this person really didn't have that chance to win. And because of greed, they didn't put it through that lens of ethics of like seeing the person as a human, as somebody that just has a normal life, and like you said, going to them was the end result. So kudos to you for like just starting with that mindset of like I am gonna see the person as a person. I pray that you don't get corrupted because money money is a tricky thing, yo. When you see a lot of it makes you forget. But I know you outside of here, and I know that you truly are a woman that you talk and walk the walk. You just one of those rare persons. You truly are, Noelia. My sister and I, we were talking about you, and I was like, she was like, yeah, they just so nice. We were referring to you and your husband, and I was like, truly are like we just have been blessed to like meet people that are really about it. They just ethical people. They just want to do right, and not only want to do right but do right. So yo, kudos in the constitution, and just the benefits of it, gaining the knowledge that way.
Yes, that's way of getting to your laws. Sorry, the constitutional rights that we have. But I will send you some more information on people that break it down really well. There's a lot of attorneys out there who love to do that, and they're really good at it. So I think that those kinds of things, just to stay a little bit abreast of like what's going on, to your rights, I think that's really important. Um, and yeah, there's one attorney that I know for sure. She also broke down the impact of a Roe v. Wade being overturned, and but just from a purely constitutional rights type of analysis,
Mm-hmm.
because things like that do get very contentious. But even if you don't like, like politics and all that stuff, it's okay. You still need to know, what's actually changed within the actual constitutional right, not necessarily what is being interpreted by the political sides. So I just found that out too, through being more involved in the law is that regardless of how I feel, because I may not always feel great about like the political side, I always feel good about going back to what's the actual rule now. How is it
Mm,
worded? Each word, what does it mean? That kind of thing, because people can spin whatever whichever way, even if you say like I like cats, so if that statement can be manipulated any way you can imagine, your rights can be manipulated any kind of way. So make sure that you know the facts, because you deserve that. Living in the United States, you deserve to know what you actually have and what you don't have. Um, and and just being so that then you can also defend yourself. If you do think of something one way or another, you have the facts also to back you up to the words of the actual rule, and how it was interpreted. So I mean, super super interesting, but it is very intense to really like break down those rules to get to the more granular level. So I would say just knowing kind of the basics is going to help you a lot. Because it's not cool to like read the Constitution, or read the rules of your state, but at the same time too, it's useful. It's useful. And I don't know how everyone else feels, but I like NPR. I think they do a pretty good job of
mm.
telling you what's happening in the world, like as far as your rights are concerned. And I believe, so yeah, the NPR does. If anything changes in the law, they show both sides. They show like constitutional law commentators. So they do a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, I like NPR. I used to listen to them all the time and I stopped. I need to get back to it. I like to listen to different sides. Um but because it's important to just know and understand, as you say, just the basics of like your rights. And and regardless of the times that we're going through in the United States, I know that we are going through many changes. We are definitely privileged, because sometimes when I go to the Dominican Republic or just other countries, and just the rights that do not exist that we have, it is, one of those things that give you like moment. But if like you say, if you don't know, you don't know how to defend yourself. So we are privileged in that way, regardless of other issues that we have as a country. But just to know that you have rights that can back you up, and you can learn those rights, to defend yourself and understand those laws, is very reassuring.
Is and I'm always have my head in the clouds. But the song talks about it being okay, and that's okay. Because sometimes you're just a big thinker, and a lot of the practical stuff is hard for me. So I really like that song. And then my other song is Contigo by Los Verduleros. And they are a Paraguayan group.
Mm.
And that song, especially now after I just came back from Paraguay,
Oh,
um, it grounds me and it really reminds me of home.
oh, that's beautiful. Um, So you said that, do you think that just your thinking a lot causes the anxiety, or you have always been like more to the anxious side of
I think it
things?
definitely adds to it, because I think I want to do something, and then I want to find out the best way to do that, and then I want to find out no the other best way. And I need to go buy all the tools to do it the best way. And then at that point it's been maybe 5 days and I still haven't done anything. So I that it gives me anxiety, because I think I want to do something, and then I get in my own way. And then it takes me too long. So the song kind of reminds me that, it's okay to have a big ideas, just, keep moving, and get it done. And, but don't feel bad about, taking so long if it does take you long. Um,
And so it just reminds me that, it's not that serious. If I want to do something, do it poorly, but do it. And that song really helps me with that.
What are your favorite lyrics of this
That
song?
one specifically is living in this big blue world with my head up in outer space. I know I'll be A-OK. I was like, that's so cute.
Yes, it is. It is. It definitely paints a picture.
Yeah.
It does. It does. I can definitely relate to just
Yeah.
overthinking. Like I think my mind is very active at
Yes. Yes.
nighttime when everything is like quiet, and I just start thinking and thinking and thinking, and it's crazy just the limitless amounts of rabbit holes
Yes.
that you can go into. And then like I exhaust myself sometimes, and then I start
Yes.
getting
Same.
anxious. Like I'm like, oh my God, girl, calm down. Do you understand that these are all
Right.
hypothetical? They are not
Right.
happening. I'm just like, oh my God, I am something else. It's just good to know that I'm not the only something
Oh
else
yeah.
out
Oh
there.
yeah. And I think I always wanted to know, what is my answer to that question? How do I feel about that? And like you were talking about, kind of talking yourself into these circles of, oh well, but if I think that, then what about this? And then what if that? And at that point, you've just gone in a complete circle. And do you really think what you think? But it's also fun and stimulating too, to think deeply about things, to really have your why for different things, and or even just to take some thought, extra thought, do a little bit of tiny research, into things you're interested in, into things that you're interested in finding out more about. Um, I like people like that too. It really shows me that it's okay to delve more into your ideas and what you, and even contradict yourself sometimes, because that helps you
Mm.
stay, um, you know, fresh in what you believe and what you think. So I like that too.
Yeah, definitely. And I like the fact that sometimes we do contradict ourselves, and like it always makes me think like two realities can exist. Like it could be a yes and it could be a no at the same time. And it's like I have never shied away from like exploring those two sides. Matter of fact, I know that when I was little, one of my favorite games, like back then my
Yeah.
sister wasn't born yet, so I was the only girl, and you can only play with the boys for so long until they start just
Yes.
being too destructive. um so what I would do when I wanted my time, I would go into my room and I would lock the door, and I would do this like talk shows in my room with my stuffed animals. And we would just silly things, like kid things, like what do you think about this? Like I think this, and I will have these full blown interviews. And I have always been like that. Like being an overthinker has been my blessing, but it definitely has also been an obstacle. I won't say a curse because I am
Yes.
not cursed, but it has been an obstacle. It has been my challenge. So I can definitely relate that
Oh, I
to
love
that.
that. And look at you now. You're doing it still.
Right, right, right. And like anxiety, like I never had a
Yeah.
word for it, but I was talking to my good friend Alice, like we were just having like a moment of sharing, and I was describing something to her because we were
Yeah.
talking about anxiety, and I was like, I don't think I have that. And then I was like describing
Yeah.
things to her, and she was like, well, those are form of anxiety, like just
Yes.
like restless sleeps, or like doing certain things like continuously. I noticed that when I feel I don't have
Yeah.
control over something, I like rearrange the whole house, yo. Like I go ham, I go more to stew or
Yeah.
hard, like more to stew or on crack, girl. I just rearrange everything, and like I learn by talking to her that that is my way of saying like at least I have
Yes.
control over something. So anxiety is just a weird
Yeah.
thing. It just camouflages in so
It
many
does,
different
it does,
ways.
and I definitely felt it so much more last year when I was starting law school, because of, it's so many unknowns and so many things, like you said, out of my control, and especially kind of the way that you do your first year of law school is you don't have a lot of hand holding because it's a doctorate degree, right? And you have to really want it. And so a lot of it was going out of my way to ask questions to different people about the different things I was feeling. Not getting a lot of feedback saying that it's normal, but kind of intuiting from people's responses that yes, it's okay, to be anxious before your first midterm. Yes, it's okay, to not feel like you're always together. It's normal. Now I understand things like it's normal to be feeling like you're the only person who feels this way, but it's not true. Everybody feels that same way. Even if they look like they're doing great and they're having fun in law school. Last year I had no fun, zero fun, until at least second semester, but it was really one of the most anxiety producing moments of my life. But I wouldn't change it, because I learned how to manage, like you were talking about, figure out what is manifesting as anxiety, what is my anxiety manifesting as, and how can I help myself through that. And digging deep into just allowing feelings to happen. I thought that if I felt not confident, then I am not going to do well in law school. There was so many times I didn't feel confident, and so I just told myself, do it scared, like it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to not feel confident, but just keep doing the thing. The requirement for doing your goals, or accomplishing things for yourself, isn't that you're going to love it all the time. Isn't that you're going to be so excited all the time. It's that you just keep doing it, because you love it, not because you feel like doing it. And understanding how those feelings are okay too, and accomplishing my goals, helped calm down a lot of my anxiety, to understand that, this is normal. This is okay. We're okay. Feel sad, cry, move on, um, so that was
I love
definitely
that.
yes to anxiety.
So this week I was listening to this guy, and he's talking about ways to simplify your life. Cuz I'm going to be turning 35
Yay.
this year. So I'm definitely yay. Me 30s, what up 40s? I'm looking at you, you looking at me. I'm like I've still got 5 more years, homie.
Yes,
Leave
yes.
me alone. um but I'm looking for ways to just
Yeah.
simplify my life, get more connected to God, more connected to the earth, more connected to like a
Mm,
natural rhythm of being human. I think there is a lot of like um man-made things in our lives that we really don't need, but we
mm,
call essentials, and they're really not essentials because they were not needed 5 years ago. So and people were living just fine. So I am trying to get as grounded as I can with things. And I was listening to this guy, and he was like, achieving goals and getting into a routine is just, it consists of one word. It consists of
mm,
consistency, and doing that one thing every day the
mm,
same way. into it just becomes part of you, who you are. So right now I am a runner. I
Nice.
say this,
Yeah.
projecting it like I'm working on it. It's a process. But many times in my running journey, I try to take in too
Mm,
many miles,
yeah.
and I'm not there yet. I'm not in the shape to be running 4 miles. Um 3 to 4 times a week. I'm
Yes.
just not there yet. So I said to myself after listening to this guy, I was like, okay, I know that I can do 2 miles and not feel like I'm dead or dying. And I know that I can do 2 miles consistently three
Yeah.
times a week. So that's my goal. Like not changing that, doing that throughout the year. I had it in my notes because I'm still me, which is annoying. I was like, go to increase 1 mile a month. But I'm like, girl, no, you just finished listening to this guy. Like, make 2 miles,
Yes.
you make them part of Liz Marie, and do not change those 2 miles into they are so part of your identity that then you can add a mile.
Wow.
So I am definitely working on that consistency because that is so true. A lot of times we back out of good things because we are not consistent. And I'm just learning, like, take it slow, man.
Right.
Nobody's
Right.
waiting for you. This is not a big race where you're gonna get a trophy if
Yeah.
you finish first. Just consistent, but eating that elephant one bite at a time type
Oh
of
my
deal. I
gosh. Thank
love
you for
it.
saying that. I really liked the way you talk to yourself through that. Make it make the 2 miles a part of who you are, and then we can add it. It's so realistic but also empathetic, to say, not just no, to the 3 miles every 3 days, but we are gonna make this. It's like you're prepping yourself, like you're your own cheerleader to say, this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna do it. And boom, I was like, oh, I love that. I love the way you talk to yourself in that moment.
No, definitely. And so let's talk about your other song. I'm sorry, I didn't get it because
Okay,
I
no
think it cut
worries.
off.
The other one
So
is Contigo, and that is by Los
mm,
Verduleros.
ooh,
Verduleros. Um, and that one is, they're a Paraguayan group. And so listening to that song really grounds me and reminds me of my family that I have there. I have a lot of family there, and they're wonderful. And I got to see them last week, and it was just a truly magical trip. And I'm missing them, especially now, but they're always in my heart.
um so you are married to
Yes.
a Mexican. So how are there like major differences? Because like a lot of people that are not part of like the Hispanic community, the Latino community, they really think that we all just want one way, and it's like, no, there are so major differences between these countries. Like even like Puerto Rico
Yep.
and the Dominican Republic, we share one body of water. We are neighbors. The islands are neighbors, but it is definitely two
Yes.
different cultures. So how is that? What are some of the differences? And are there any similarities of being Paraguaya and Mexican from
Oh
your
my
husband's
gosh,
side?
you're right. Everyone does think that, we all eat spicy food. Paraguayans do not eat spicy food. And we all love tortillas that are the same. So for us, tortilla is an actual, like, kind of like a Korean pancake, but make it Latino with like egg and onion and different things like that. So when we even say the same word, we're talking about different things. In Paraguay, we have something called sopa paraguaya, and it's not soup.
Mm.
So it's an actual like it's like a
What is
cornbread
it?
dish, but with like some egg in it. And it's very good. But if you're thinking you're gonna have a hot soup, it's just not the same thing. Um,
You are in for a
Yes,
surprise.
and I think that was something that was difficult for my husband growing up Mexican, because his culture is so very in your face, like "Viva Mexico," very very boisterous and very proud and very culturally rooted. They have a lot of traditions. Think of
Mm.
Dia de los Muertos and even Christmas, they do weddings. They have their own traditions for those things. And in Paraguay, the culture is tranquilo, just very chill, super chill. Are we gonna have a good time? Slow down, like don't they talk slower? I mean, it's just a very, very chill kind of vibe. And so it was difficult for my husband at first because he thought, oh, you're just Americanized, that's why your culture is not so intense. You
Mm.
should know more about Paraguay. But after this last trip, he really saw just how chill everyone is and that it's part of our culture. It's pretty much like a very chill culture. We want to have fun. We love family. Family is super, super important. My mom is one of 13 children. My dad's one of three. So I have a lot of family in Paraguay. Um,
The differences in how in Paraguay the people are more chill, more relaxed, and
yes, yes. So,
just taking one moment at a time type of people.
yes, yes. Very big on family, very big on greeting everyone, grandparents, aunts, uncles, making everyone feel included. Go if you go anywhere, you say hi, to people, which I thought was very endearing. It's not the same in the city here. Um, if you start
Mhm.
saying hi to people, maybe people will look at you a little bit funny. Um, so I definitely think that that's but that might be something more for all Latin American countries, that kind of respect for just people in general in your space, to say hi and greet and say, how are you doing, um, to not ignore people. So I think that might be within the Mexican culture too. But they love family. They love family and they'll do anything for each other. My I don't know if I said it, but my mom's one of 13 children and my dad's one of three, and so I have a lot of family members. So a lot of it is I go there and I have to greet everyone because everyone already is my uncle or aunt or somebody. So my husband got to see that and he really really liked it. um he said it's different, from Mexican culture, but he still loved it because everyone was so warm with him. They loved him, as you can imagine. He's a very lovable
He's
person.
lovable. Yes, he is. Easy to love.
Yes, yes.
So what are your favorite lyrics from this song? And is sorry, let me Contigo,
Yes,
Los Verduleros.
yes.
What are your favorite lyrics?
That one is: tuve que viajar a buscar el pan, yo nunca quise, nunca te quise dejar. And so
Mm.
for me, knowing that my parents came to this country for a better life for their children, and for that bread, they were always thinking about how to make our immediate family's lives better. But then also, because my mom is one of so many children, she's always sent money home, to make sure that all of her siblings and mom are doing okay too. So even though we came to the United States, having to leave my family there was difficult. It was difficult for both my mom and my dad, but the love is still there. And now that I've had my experiences with my cousins too, the love is still there too. I do miss them, and I wish things were different, but if I wish it was a little bit closer. It's very far, but at the same time too, I'm very lucky to miss family down there, because I'm sure there are people that don't have a lot of family, or maybe don't have family that they can really say love them and care for them.
How long is the flight to Paraguay?
It's 16 hours if you go direct, but if you have some layovers, it can be a day, and so it's pretty
Wow.
far. Yeah.
It's almost like, well, yeah, maybe by a few hours, more like flying to the continent of Africa or a country in Africa.
Yeah.
So it's just like maybe a few hours difference. I think to Africa it's like 22, well, to a country in Africa,
Yes.
it's like 22 hours or something like that. Wow, I didn't know. I mean, and the funny thing is because you think it's in South of America and it's like just below us, you think that it's close.
Yes.
You think that it's no more than 8 hours, but 16 hours, that is a long flight.
Yeah. And I think too that nobody flies direct there. So you have to stop somewhere along the way to get there. So I think that's part of it, that there's always going to be a layover in there. So that, yeah.
Yeah, I would love to visit one day.
Oh, I would love to take you.
But yes, yes, count me
Yeah.
in. Paraguay, I mean, it makes sense that you say that the people there are very low key because as a country, it's not a country that it gets not. When I say highlighted, I don't
Yeah.
mean that in a bad way, but
No, yeah.
there's not a lot of news coming out from there, so it speaks to maybe just the culture and how people are just like low key people. They just want to mind their
Yeah.
business and just do life. I respect that.
Yeah. They definitely are like that. And they don't, there's not a lot of things that they do export except for meat. They do export a lot of meat. So that's something they
I'm
take
a
great
meat
for.
eater.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. They have like the best cow or something. And
Oh.
so that's one of the things that they do, is they have a lot of farmland, lots and lots of farmland. So it's beautiful too. Very like still in its organic state. Um, just a
Mm.
lot of forest and hills that are just green and beautiful. Um, the cities aren't really like as modernized as our cities, and so even then, there's vegetation everywhere, trees everywhere. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So yeah, very very low key.
Yes, we need to plan a trip there.
Yes.
I would love to. So what how can you relate these lyrics to the lessons that you have learned?
Yes. So for that one, I think that I am a, I was always told to be not as positive and not as optimistic, because then my feelings would get hurt if things didn't work out.
Mm.
And people would tell me that frequently. Don't be so nice to everyone because then you got taken advantage of. And I hated when people said that to me because I thought, well, then how am I supposed to find the good people? Right? If I'm so worried about people being mean to me, that leaves no space for me to find the people that resonate with what I say and how I feel. And so with these two songs, I think on the one hand, it's okay to have, all these big ideas. And then on the other hand, it's okay to be having your heart in two places. I thought I had to pick a place. It's either got to be here or it's got to be there in Paraguay. Or for Rigo, his family's in Mexico. And so, having that tension of my heart can actually be in two places. And that's okay too. I don't have to fit within a mold to be myself. I am who I am, based off of everything that I've experienced in this life. Um, yeah, it's funny. I was just thinking, like, I the AOK song really reminds me of like that growth mindset too. That there's just going to be plenty of people who tell you you can't be yourself. But you
Mm.
always have to be yourself. That's when the good things happen. And being yourself can lead you to problems as well. But at the same time too, I would pick those problems over anybody else's, because they're mine, and if anyone's going to be able to solve them, it's got to be me, right? If I'm the one that if I'm this way and I have the problems because of the way I am, then I'm exactly in the place that I need to be, and I'm exactly who I need to be. Um, because if I try to be somebody else, that just doesn't
It
work for
doesn't
me.
work. Mm-mm. It doesn't.
No.
It really doesn't. If you can turn back time, what five songs would you suggest to younger you and why?
This was fun. This was really fun.
I am ready.
Yes. The first one is Soulmate by Lizzo. Love that song. Special by Lizzo. Cozy by Beyonce with that new song. Um,
Okay.
Boss Bitch by Doja Cat. And I Am Woman by Emmy Melly.
Oh,
I just, those are some good songs for me.
they are good.
Yeah.
So why? Why those songs?
Okay, so mostly because even though I always knew at a young age who I was, and that some people would tell me, you can't be that way, but in my stubborn heart, I still believed I could. And so I tried to remain in my heart that way. And so, but it eats away at you. The words that people say, the way they choose to talk to you. And so I did become very sad and negative by the time I got to college, because I thought, oh, okay, well, if it's not going to work out for me, it's because I've been too optimistic. It's because I've been too, you know, um, positive about everything. And so I did spiral down a very self-loathing moment, or season, really, where I didn't believe in myself, where I mistrusted every decision that I made, and I thought that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, and that made me so sad, and very depressed. And then I got to really like leave my home. I got to start back up my college career and finish that. I got to meet my husband. I got to meet some amazing people who thought the same way that I did, and I was ready for it. In that moment, I was ready for that kind of love and that kind of support, and that's turned everything around. And that's when I started
Mm,
listening to songs like this, because I thought songs like this were not for me before. I was like, those are for cool girls, those are for girls who have something going on in their life, and I didn't believe that was me for a really long time. But I got the support that I needed. I got the love that I needed. And now I see these songs, I'm like, that's absolutely for me, like that is my song. And so, I love these songs. Like they just fill me up with so much love and positivity, and they make me feel like I can do anything. And so that's why those songs.
I love it. I just love how you put all that into just it's just so nice how you did that. Love it. So what makes your story unique and why tell it now?
Yeah. I think I touched a little bit about on it before, was um I just knew since I was a child that love was the way, um and love was the answer. And I think I did grow up in an era like the early 90s, where kind of more like violent, or more like machista way of thinking was more prevalent. And um I've always been now I understand, I was a highly sensitive child, and growing up in that kind of environment, I just knew it was wrong. There had to be another way. Instead of yelling at each other, instead of getting to violence, instead of power dynamics and things like that, I just knew that it had to be different than that. And so now that everyone's having this kind of like cultural awakening moment of like, going to therapy is not terrible. You're not crazy if you go to therapy. You're not crazy if you feel sad for a long period of time sometimes. And like the destigmatization of mental health has just made like validated everything I believed growing up, and it's just been so lovely to know that. And I think that's why my story is a little bit unique, because I was also seen as very weird growing up. Like I still maintained a childlike um curiosity with things when a lot of people wanted me to be firm. They wanted me to really come down on a stance and not see the whole person. Judging people to say that they're bad people when I just didn't feel like they were bad. I just think that in certain circumstances we can make decisions that are good and decisions that are bad, but that does not change how inherently you are. There are certain people, of course, have a caveat. There are certain people that make a lot of choices that are bad. Um, and so that's separate. But in general, I think that giving people grace allows them to make better decisions later. And so I think that's why it's a little bit of a unique kind of story. Whereas I think I was never cool, just growing up, and now it's like cool to like work on your mental health, and I think that's so amazing. Um, it makes me a little sad because I wasn't cool for so long, but it's okay as long as we're all on the same page now.
Girl, you the coolest. I think you're so cool.
Thank you.
When I met you, I was like, she's cool. I love her. I like her. I like her.
Thank you.
Um, what demons are you still fighting off?
Yes. So right now it's pretty much like I was talking about the big ideas, putting them into practice and going quicker from idea to action. Instead of having this thinking period in between, implementing new ideas, like how to have a better routine. You were talking about routines. I love it. I want to implement better routines too. And so just go ahead and try it. Try the new routine. If it works, great. If it doesn't, change it the next day to fit your what I'm thinking. But trying to have less of a lag between what I think and then what I actually do.
I like that. So do you think you will win? Why or why not?
Yes,
Do you
I do. I do think I will win, and I do think that I took this question a little bit differently. I said I am winning, because I'm in a place where I've accomplished some of the goals that I've already set, and that made me feel like I'm already winning. Anything I add now is just extra. And so I'm doing the law school thing, and I'm also getting good grades, and I think that's great. That's extra, for me. I think that I'm already doing the scary thing that I never thought that I'd be able to do, but I'm doing it. And then also, I think you said how or why, and I living intentionally in the present moment, and then just still going after goals and setting new goals once I accomplish them too.
what song describes your current life season?
Cozy by Beyonce.
I like it.
Yes.
Can you give us like a phrase of it or some lyrics of it?
Something about cozy. She's cozy in the way in her skin, something like that. I love that phrase because it's true.
I
Yeah.
like that too. I like that she used cozy instead of just like good in her skin. Or
Yes.
cozy is more like an endearment, like it's personal,
Yes.
nurturing almost, instead of comfortable.
Yeah.
What keeps you hopeful?
God's fulfilled promises, and his generosity, especially, despite my momentary lacks of faith, where I'm confronted with something, and it's just you get to 30 and you start seeing the pattern in your life, right? Like you get to see, consistently when I don't have faith in this, he still shows up. And so now that I am seeing a new obstacle that already looks scary, I've seen something like this before. I knew how that one ended. So I feel like this is going to end fine too. God's still going to have my back. I've been through, what I've been through, but he still had my back. And so that he's already fulfilled all of that despite, whether I believed it or not, he still came out on top in my life. And I think that gives me a lot of hope.
So that answers the next question. Do you believe in God,
Yes,
and why?
absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. There's no way I would have made it through this life without him. I was very blessed to start out when I was really young, with a lot of like faith formation, and it was a forced thing at first. But once I formed my own relationship with God, just our journey has been, very consistent. And anything that I've learned from him or from the Bible or from Mass or from my parents, has helped me get through a lot of really, really dark times. And no matter what, he's always been there for me. And so, I mean, I cannot sing his praises high enough. I mean, he has worked in my life, my family's life, my husband's life, his family's life. You know, you start to see the pattern, of how he's working, and it's the most beautiful thing I can think of, is having this relationship with him.
If you could put your favorite two songs on a playlist, what would be the name of that playlist?
God's plan.
I love it. No
No,
copyrighted
right.
intended. Well, you the
Yeah,
lawyer, so
I
you
can't
can
argue it.
always
I can't argue it.
right. So what is the message you would like to share with the next generation of women and girls?
The message I want to send to you out there, if you're watching, is you are exactly who you are meant to be, who God made you to be. Do not doubt that. Take advice, take constructive criticism, but never forget that God made you exactly how He wanted you to be. And you're in the exact moment that you're supposed to be as well. Even if it's scary, even if it doesn't feel great, remember to learn from this experience, because everything is leading to what you're supposed to do in this life, your mission in this life. So don't forget that, God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. You are exactly who you're meant to be. You're in the right spot. Just keep fighting and have faith.